Jane said, as Janelle said, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Chris Denison Smith. I'm Managing Director of FM Recruitment. We are, if you don't know us, we are a specialist hospitality finance recruiters and long-time supporters of HOSPA. This evening I was asked to get a panel together, which I haven't done, HOSPA did that for me, of some very inspirational individuals. And the topic that we've been given isn't quite on it, is there? From learning to leadership. So talking to those people that have done the HOSPA awards in the past, have done their education and now are leaders in the industry. So if I'd like to introduce my panel, if I start with Gary McQueen. Gary is a commercial finance manager for Hilton Hotels. Please, come take a seat. Seat number one. And then there's Tori Ackling, who's this bitch, she's on the other side. Sorry, Tori is Group Commercial Director for Legacy Hotels and Resorts.
Thank you.
Wherever you are. And then Nekrassova.
Can I borrow you?
Brilliant. Yes, cool. Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
Café Royal.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Lee Graham, who is Group Revenue Manager for Nelson Hotels and Inns. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. So as you can see, an illustrious panel of current leaders in our industry. What we're going to talk about this evening is how they got there. I'm going to ask them to share some of their stories of learning, the challenges that they went through whilst they were learning, and ultimately, of course, their successes on their journey from learners to leaders. So if we start at the beginning, and I'll start with you, Gary. What do you feel your career looked like before you started doing the HOSPA course?
Well, I had been working in finance for a number of years, mostly in hospitality. I'd started in hospitality, I'd left, and then I'd come back, and I had decided that I wanted a career in hospitality finance. I had worked through various roles in the office, so I'd done income audit, I'd done AP processing, credit control, but a lot of my experience was transactional. And I had made it to sort of supervisor level, but all my experience was really doing transactional work. So I really wanted to take that to the next level and get some experience in more commerciality and more strategic planning and what have you. And it's not always easy to do that on the job. People are busy, right? So you can't always sit with the financial controller and learn that. So I was looking for an external means of doing that, and that's when I came across. I'll show how old I am. It was BAHA at the time. It wasn't even HOSPA, the precursor to HOSPA. And that's when I decided to do that, to get me that experience then to get to the sort of next level in terms of commerciality.
And does that sort of transactional aspect ring true with you guys from a revenue point of view? Was that something that you were experiencing, that there was a certain level that you could get to with your experience?
I mean, from my side, yeah, it's I was in my first revenue role, a full-time revenue role, and a lot of my experience was sort of learned on the job, which was great, but I just really felt that I wasn't really getting that academic side of things. I did revenue management in university, like a lot of people here probably. Absolutely hated it. I was like, this is never going to be my career. And then my lecturer at the time said to me, you really get it, you should consider this as a career. And I was like, no thanks, numbers, no, I'm going to be a general manager. And then once during my management trainee, so my graduate job after university, I went, oh crap, I should have paid more attention. So that was what really inspired me to apply for a course with HOSPA and to really get the theory really behind the practice, and retrospectively learn the psychology behind pricing and how to put together a proper forecast and how to lead a sales and marketing meeting, and that gave me a lot of confidence later on to take it further.
And Tori, do you see HOSPA as something specifically that you sought out?
Well, I guess slightly different for me in terms of, I think I had one of those moments where my company turned 20 in September last year, and I realised that, shit, I've worked there for 20 years as well, in the same company. And then I had another moment thinking to myself, my God, I've got people that are about to retire, because they started 20 years ago, and I've got another 20 years to work. So I've got to do something. I just got this moment where I just thought, I just want to do something that's for myself. And I think HOSPA was the natural progression to go to in terms of been going to HOSPA for many number of years and knowing Janelle and seeing Jane and just having that confidence that it's trusted and known Ina for many years, and her winning certain wards as well, and just seeing different people go through the motions with HOSPA and do their course and do their professional development was the only place that I looked really.
Yeah. And Lee, similar for you or a different story?
A bit of combination of everything. So I didn't go to uni to do revenue management. I was already kind of working in hospitality and kind of went down the operational general manager route. But then my love was the revenue management side of things. So I was currently in the group revenue manager role. So HOSPA, we partner with the lovely guys at Right Revenue, who we saw the adverts through there.
Right.
And for me, being in that role, I was like, actually, I want to do something for me and it's going to benefit me personally and as well apply that into the day-to-day business that I'm working in. So I started at the foundation level, even though I was currently in that role, but for me, I wanted to understand what the building blocks were and the history behind revenue management before we got all these beautiful RMS systems that do a lot of the data analytics for us now, but actually I wanted to go back to basics and then progress from there.
And that sort of background, once you started doing the course, was there sort of an aha moment where you felt that the learning actually corresponded to your role?
Literally, yeah, and especially using like an RMS every day, it was understanding, that's where that algorithm's coming from, that's how it's working that calculation out. It's obviously using your real data that you've got available in your PMS anyway, but actually understanding how it's working that out and spotting the trends, the strategic side more.
Yeah. And other revenue guys, Tori, was there that sort of moment where the job and the learning sort of coincided? Was it that the learning was so specific to what you were already doing that it was all the way through the background to it? Was that the...
So for me, during my course, I was a number 2 in revenue department, and I wasn't directly responsible for forecasting and again leading the commercial meetings yet. But what it gave me is the confidence to actually start taking that on board and actually volunteering and saying, can I do the forecast now? Can I lead the commercial meeting? And that role prepared me for the next step, and that course together with the role prepared me for the next step of then actually being head of revenue for a luxury prominent hotel and take on that first leap of, okay, now you are in charge, you're a director, you're looking after revenue, there's nobody now to safe net you. And that course really, like HOSPA's given me a lot of confidence to actually do that and think, yeah, I'm ready, now's the time to go for it.
Yeah.
Competence is definitely key. I think one of the biggest things that the HOSPA course did for me is make me ask more questions and not be afraid to ask those questions, which I think that's how you then continue to learn in your business. So yes, we do this course for 5 months and we do the assignments, we learn from our tutors, etc. But actually you continue that learning back now and have the confidence to ask those questions. I think we all get imposter syndrome sometimes, and I think this gives you validation that actually, you've just passed this course, you do know what you're doing. Like, you're in this role because you know what you're doing, and sometimes you need that little validation to yourself to say, this, me doing a HOSPA and course to my CEO might not mean anything to him, but he's just like, okay, yeah, fine. But actually, it's validation to yourself that I can do it, and actually, it's like I said, the confidence thing I think was a huge thing for me.
Yeah. And Gary, were there learnings within the course that...
Yeah, I think I echo exactly as Tori said. I think having the self-confidence that doing the course gave you. As I say, I was very much an office person, sitting behind my computer, not really being out and about in the business, and suddenly getting out of your comfort zone there. And learning what impact the job you were doing was having on the other departments, and what the other departments were having an impact on the finance of the hotel. Gives you that self-confidence, which then gives people confidence in you. When you are confident, then it gives people confidence in you. And I changed from being somebody who was seen as a processor, he's a good guy, turns up, he's on time, does his job, to suddenly actually somebody who can add value to the business.
Yeah. And we heard today from Janelle was talking about some of the sort of challenges that people go through when they're doing the course. You're all trying to do it whilst you've got a full-time job. What would you say were the sort of key challenges that you saw whilst you were doing the course?
I think it's difficult. It's working full time and trying to study and having a home life as well. It isn't easy. I think I became better as I got through the course at planning what I was doing, and I think in the sort of first module or two, I was trying to sort of jump in and maybe didn't have much of a plan around what I was doing. But as I got through the modules, then sort of making a plan, building a bit of flexibility into that plan, because you know things come up, things happen, and then just getting through as much as you could. Yep.
The planning side of it.
I think the main challenge I had was having Alex as a tutor. It's because he's texting on his phone. I need to make sure he's listening. Look at him. No, I think...
You felt you were tutoring the tutor at some stage.
I spotted him on his phone texting, so I was like, right, okay. No, I think one of my, I was going to say, I spoke to Alex about it earlier on. It's like, just to sort of flip the question a little bit, is that one of my biggest challenges at the time was kind of just feeling overwhelmed, and I really wish I'd used Alex more. So in hindsight, it's just such a great thing that I should have, because he was always open to take calls and texts, and he was like, I'm always here. But you just, at the beginning, you just think, no, I just need to get my head down and do it. But now I'm just like, I just wish I would just, called him more often and just got that knowledge out of him more, and just, I've got loads from him anyway. I'm not saying I didn't, but I just wish I'd used him more. Yeah, just don't worry about feeling silly or asking silly questions. Just use them as much as you can.
It's actually, to add on that, the challenge itself was combining. I mean, I had to tell to my partner, okay, the next 2 months, all the weekends cancel, all the plans I'm going to study, and I'm going to make sure I get. And as a result of that, I got the distinction, and I was a top learner within my cohort. So it was definitely worth doing it. But yeah, it doesn't involve some sacrifice, as anything hard and worthy of achieving off in life. But actually, to echo on what Tori was saying, what I wish for is actually speaking more to our cohort. And there's a couple of people that I stayed really close friends with that we still kind of, lean on each other when there's challenges in the industry, or we just want to bounce an idea of somebody who are now themselves progressed to be directors of revenue within other amazing properties. So that's another thing, is utilising actually that network that you can build as part of your cohort, because you become quite close because you go through the same assessments, and that's been very valuable as well.
Sorry to interrupt that is one good thing that I had my colleague Bernadette do it with me, and I think if you can get a buddy in your own company that's going through it at the same time, and you do it together, you're not copying each other's work, you just have different kind of opinions, or you can pick up the phone and say, do you understand what Alex said? Because I really don't. And you've got that, sorry, it's not an Alex fashion day. Or do you understand, this link isn't... Or, I found this link and it was great, and share it. So I think that was one of the biggest things. I think if I was by myself, I probably would have just been like, oh, this is a lot. But I think having a colleague doing it at the same time, just, text on a Sunday and be like, I'm just done 6 hours. Are you still doing 6 hours? And so it was good to have that person.
Aspect of support.
Absolutely, like a real peer support. And you've obviously got it in your cohort, and I got it through a colleague going through the same thing.
Yeah. Lee, something to add to that?
Yeah, echo the support. Luckily, the company I work for were really supportive of me doing the qualification. So actually they understood that my time was going to be focusing on HOSPA as well, and they allowed me to, have flexibility. I don't have a work from home role, but they allowed me to do some hours from home, so that there wouldn't be the distraction of the hotel operation. And then, echoing about the tutors, Janelle has been the revenue tutor, who has been a massive support, and I think, building those connections with your tutor, and they understand from an operational point of view that you are working, it's month end, the owners have decided to change the PMS, and you're halfway through your project, and it's like, okay. And it's about having those open, honest, realistic conversations. If you do need an extension, that's absolutely fine, and you're not going to get penalised for it. But when it becomes a problem is when they don't know about what the issue is, and then you're late with something. But building those relationships, and echoing the cohort, definitely. We had on my last 2 courses, we had a really great group, and we set up a WhatsApp group outside of it, and we're bouncing ideas off each other, and it was just a really good support, just to be like with the same like-minded people that are going through the same thing as you at the time.
When you were talking about owners, I could see some nods around the room. So
they always like to throw these challenges at us.
Pain point.
So having completed your HOSPA learning, and now that you're all in leadership roles, how do you see your qualifications, sort of, you touched on it, affecting your credibility, your confidence, your role itself, Gary, something that you and I spoke about.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was absolutely the key bit, was the self-confidence that I got from it, and then the credibility that you get outside with the other departments. I mean, you're not walking about wearing a badge saying, I've got a HOSPA qualification, but people know that you're doing it. You're involved in the hotel, doing various projects and what have you. So people see that you're sort of getting away from the day job, and you're becoming more proactive in the hotel. So yeah, your credibility just goes skyrockets, really.
And do you look at your role differently now? Not because I've got this is who I am, but more from a sort of, as you say, the sort of self-confident aspect.
I think what HOSPA course really helped as well with is knowing how to do things properly, because a lot of the times when you go into a role, there's sometimes bad practices that have been handing over from one position to another, and to just know, okay, how do you do things properly? Actually, how do you follow clean revenue management? What are the best practices? That's also kind of good, and you've got it's not just European. You've got the backing of an organisation that tells this is how you're supposed to do things, and that was quite useful as well. And it kind of shapes your role as, and again we talk about the confidence of I do know what I'm talking about, and this is how we're going to take things moving forward. So it kind of allows you to also change things organisationally, because you can just spot when things aren't done right or in the best way possible.
And do you find that other departments are open to that? To actually listening to your advice?
Sometimes they're open, sometimes they have no choice.
So it's also yes. It's how we get to the yes. Tori, anything to add to that?
I just think it's it just gave you like I said, the validation that yes, you do know what you're talking about, and giving you that confidence. We're a management company with management contracts and asset management contracts, which I only look after the Manco contracts presently. But doing the asset management course actually made me realise it's literally the same thing, but you just think, oh no, the asset management contract is completely different. Ultimately, you're doing the same, you're doing that job in a Manco contract. Then it just gives you that validation. So actually, okay, you can put me on an asset manager contract, and I can probably deliver the same results to you. So it's just that validation to say, well, actually, yeah, I've got this. We've got it.
Yeah. And how have you found it, Lee?
I think it kind of almost forces you in a good way to have those open, uncomfortable conversations within your business sometimes. With, revenue should be working very closely with sales and marketing, and sometimes they don't always align because of budget constraints, and the same with accounts, for example. It's always like, I want to spend more on this marketing budget, or I want to put some money onto booking.com, and yeah, just having those uncomfortable conversations, I guess. What HOSPA's done for me is the last one that I did was my diploma, and that really took me personally out of my comfort zone, because I chose to do my business project in spa revenue. So it's looking about how you can apply rooms revenue management techniques into a spa operation. So for me, I was always my comfort zone was rooms revenue, and I kind of know that's my baby. So actually then to look at it from a different angle and see how you can implement it into a different part of your business was a real eye-opener, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So if we open it up a little bit and we talk a little bit more about the industry in general, hospitality in general, do you feel that hospitality is doing enough to develop the talent that's already there? People that are coming out of university perhaps with hospitality degrees, or those that don't have that, those that come into the job learning on the job. Is the industry doing enough? Is there enough L&D budget for those individuals? Whoever wants to.
I think it's very company specific sometimes when it comes to L&D, and what, I've worked for different brands. The current group that I work for is a family owned and managed property, which is feels very different to a corporate segment in terms of, having different tiered structures or management structures within an L&D setting. So for me personally, I'm quite passionate about developing our own people, because I think you're a master of your own destiny. And I want my team to feel the same way about that as well. And as a mentor leader, I want the team to feel that they can come to me, and I can help them get to where they want to get to. And hopefully you get the company support at the same point.
We don't have an L&D manager, director, anybody heading it up in our business. Which I think is poor, and as a board we're pushing for that. But we've got 500 people in finance, but no one developing our team, and it always amazes me how we'll budget for recruitment, but we won't budget for retention. We won't give anything back for loyalty, which is, you're saving yourself so much money to keep your people, and that's by development. So, you know, I would say to any business, any company to keep developing your team because it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
I think there's the leaders that are doing enough, and obviously, again, it all comes from us now. You know, it's over to us now to make sure that we give back to, you know, the people that are now kind of following following our steps. And obviously, you know, people that are here in the room today, obviously they're here for a reason, and so I've got full trust that people here are doing everything they can to kind of get the next future, you know, generations in. But there's also those that aren't doing enough, in my opinion. And, you know, more needs to be done from, you know, the budgeting perspective, more needs to be done from the inspirational side and enabling people to go into, you know, a good example is like I've just been advertising for a revenue analyst role. I've had a student who applied who's, you know, recently graduated, and, you know, with a very strong CV, they've done a lot of extracurricular activities around revenue, and it so happens to be that we've also had a lot of really strong applications from, you know, from people that were just kind of coming across that little bit stronger. But okay, I can't give them the role now, but what I said is, okay, well, can we meet up? Can I give you some tips on how to get into revenue? You know, so even stuff like this that doesn't cost a lot of money, if you can't afford it, just giving back something back, because we've all been there in the beginning of our careers, not knowing how to get into that, you know, how to break through that wall. And particularly, I think in revenue, I mean, it's difficult to, you know, there aren't a lot of entry positions, and it's difficult to get. And when you have a position open like this, look, I've seen my own eyes, you know, the amount of applications and really good, solid applications that we're receiving. So, you know, even if it's just giving your time and advice back.
It's invaluable, isn't it, talking to your peers? It's
yeah, but ideally, of course, yes, having the budget to give somebody a HOSPA course that they can then, you know, prepare them for their next role.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think we need to get better at it. You know, there's no doubt about it. The issues that we all have around recruitment make it clear that we have to develop our own teams and keep hold of the good people. And yeah, that goes down to making better budgets for learning and development. I think it is underfunded. I think we do the stuff that we absolutely need to do, and we probably don't do enough of the development stuff. So yeah, I think that's definitely an area that we need to look to improve and keep hold of the good people in the industry.
I think, as Tori said, recruitment can be expensive. Obviously, there's a great ROI on it. So, shy away from recruitment, but there's only a good ROI with the retention aspect coming into it as well. As you said. So what do you guys see as your next step? How are you going to continue to grow in the industry? You're all incredibly young. You've got some 20 years to go. You see it must be much longer. They're going to retire early, obviously. What do you see as your next steps?
You've been very kind to me if you're saying I've got 20 years left. I think next steps are continuing to learn. I'm at sort of an age and stage in my life now where I've got a daughter going off to university. I've got another one who will finish school in the next few years. So I'm not really looking to move at the moment. You know, I'm happy in the role that I'm in, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to continue to develop and to learn. So, you know, getting myself out there and on various courses, doing some mentoring. Outside of work, maybe doing some voluntary work, you know, just keep evolving as much as you can. And then I guess in the medium term, then I'm looking to probably move my whole career. I've worked in the UK, so my next move would probably be overseas. I've endured enough west of Scotland winters over the last few years, so yeah, probably some sunshine at some point. But yeah, just keep developing. I think keep doing as many courses and learning as many systems and processes and what have you as I can. Yeah.
Tori?
Yeah, our company's had a bit of a change. So we're now in an employee ownership trust, which means that, you know, employees are direct beneficiaries of the company now, which is, and I'm the director of the employee trustee. So now it's my job to mentor and get the best out of all of our employees that benefits the business, because ultimately they benefit because they're not a shareholder, but they're a beneficiary of the company now. And that then, I said I've got another 20 years. I've worked for Legacy for 20 years, and you know I can see myself for Legacy for another 20 years. But it's got to be a sustainable business, and I feel now that, you know, it's a key role for me to help that over the next 20 years to be successful and for our employees. So it's to continue, and it's getting more into asset management and to that side of the business, and to try and get our company to flourish for the benefit of our employees.
Continuing to grow personally,
Yes.
professionally, and for the company as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, continue to grow, I think, is definitely a theme here. Continue to contribute as best as I can to the commercial success of Hotel Café Royal. Continue to wave the flag for revenue management and for the hospitality industry in general. It's, two things I'm really passionate about, and continue to push for, tackling problems and staring them in the face that we've known we've had for years in hospitality, because we do need to get, a better rep for hospitality, and advocate again for, revenue managers' rights.
Lee, something to add to that?
So I want to I've just done the 3 revenue management courses, so I really want to now apply that knowledge into my day-to-day role, and share that knowledge with the wider team. My great reservations manager, who's also here today, he's just going through the HOSPA qualifications as well. So, together we can rule our world, if you like. And then, continue to grow. My next move professionally, not that I'm looking right now, but would be to kind of continue in that multi-property environment, I would say. We've currently got like 5 properties that we look after. So potentially staying in that group role, have a bigger collection, potentially.
Thank you. And so then a couple of sort of quick fire ones, if we come back down the line. What advice would you give somebody who was considering taking a HOSPA course, whether it be finance or revenue or one of the other courses that you've heard about today?
My advice would be absolutely do it. I'm a big believer in your master of your own destiny, and you've got to get out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself, challenge your team, challenge your owners. Don't be scared of them. They want the best of you as well. But go for it. Absolutely do it.
Yeah, my advice is to, if you've got, have a look at your reasons. Make sure that you know what you want out of this course. Don't go into it prepared of there's time commitment, there's effort commitment. If you're going to do it properly. So in my opinion, you've got to keep your motivation in mind, because it will get tough at times. Again, it's a good investment, but it is an investment of your time, and just keeping motivations in mind when maybe things get challenging and you're like, gosh, how am I going to get this essay completed or this assignment done? But it's a brilliant thing to do for your career that really does, benefit you longer down the line. And, it's been 5 years since I've done mine, and, I've just gone from strength to strength. And again, that it elevates you to the different level of commercial leader, in my opinion. Yeah.
Use your tutor, and just don't fret about Harvard referencing. don't sweat the small stuff. It's fine.
I don't know what it is. I still don't know what it is.
I think get a good support network around you. Use a mentor, use your manager in your work, and build that support. So as when you do, because you will hit the tough times, as Zena says, you will hit some bumps in the road, but you make sure they're bumps in the road and they're not the end of the road. You keep going, and I think if you've got that support network, then that can help you get through those tough bits.
I've got 2 more questions and time for only one, so I'll skip who's your favourite HOSPA tutor.
Janelle.
In one word, phrase, or sentence, and you haven't been pre-briefed on this one, what has HOSPA given you? Guys, you can write this one down.
Confidence and credibility, I think I would say.
Validation.
Exposure.
Integrity.
Fantastic. On that note, please thank my panel. Thank you.